All right, let's jump right into our visual explainer of a truly chilling tale today. We're breaking down the deeply unsettling events that took place in a village called Vijay Nagar. What starts out as a simple everyday real estate renovation rapidly spirals into a nightmare of just unimaginable proportions. We're going to look closely at the chain of events, the key mistakes, and the horrifying consequences that followed. Basically, we're mapping out exactly how a modern disregard for ancient warnings triggered an absolute supernatural crisis. So let's dive right into this and see where the terror actually begins. The whole conflict kicks off with a fatal decision by Thama. He's a local businessman and developer, and the villagers are desperately begging him not to disrespect a massive, frankly terrifying statue of a Betal, an ancient spirit that's been sitting in the old Raj Mahal. The locals firmly believe this statue is the ultimate protector of Vijayanagar. But Thama, he literally just laughs it off. He arrogantly declares, "Who needs a protector in the era of technology? How long will you live in superstition?" It's your classic horror movie hubris, right? Throwing out the old ways because you think you know better. And as you'll see throughout this explainer, this single act of arrogant disrespect is the exact catalyst for the nightmare that follows. Section 1. The Guardian's Insult, Discarding the Betal. So, Dama's decision immediately alters the town's landscape. First up, he orders his crew to literally drag the ancient Betal statue out with ropes and just toss it into the depths of a nearby pond. By doing this, he effectively strips the old palace of its mystical defenses, a place steeped in local lore that had been guarded for generations. In its place, he builds the new Chandrakant Kila. He renovates the old ruins at breakneck speed to turn them into a modern hotel, pushing his workers to finish just in time for his friend Ranjit's wedding. He essentially trades ancient, unseen protection for a shiny new neon sign. What he's left with is a highly vulnerable structure, completely exposed to whatever dark forces were being kept at bay by the Betal. Moving on to Section 2, Terror at Chandrakant Fort, the Wedding Night Chaos. The renovations are finally done, the hotel is open, and the wedding celebration is in full swing. But the consequences? They are already waiting in the shadows. The rapid escalation of terror during this wedding unfolds in literally mere minutes. While the guests are eating and enjoying the music outside, a woman named Priya walks down a dimly lit corridor to the washroom. Minute 1, she enters. By minute 2, the atmosphere entirely shifts. Faucets start inexplicably dripping, the mirror flickers. Minute 3 is when the horror really makes itself known. Pale ghost with completely empty eyes materialize right around her. She tries to scream, but the bizarre, eerie whispering of the spirits just drowns her out. And by minute 4, she's grabbed by their claws and abducted. It happens that fast. The defenses are down, and the entity effortlessly breaches the brand new hotel. As Priya's scream finally does manage to echo out of the washroom, the wedding guests freeze. They're totally confused, wondering what on earth is going on. And right at that exact moment, a literal rain of dead pigeons falls from the sky, right onto the wedding party. It's an incredibly visceral, disgusting omen. It forces the guests to instantly realize that, hey, this isn't just a prank or some wild animal. The sudden, undeniable arrival of dark forces has just crashed the celebration in the most horrifying way possible. What follows is just absolute chaos. First, the lights of this shiny new Chandrakant Kila flicker and die completely, plunging the entire venue into pitch blackness. Second, these glowing red eyes begin to appear all around them in the dark. Third, the terrifying sounds of women screaming start echoing from every single direction. Then, just as suddenly as it all started, the lights snap back on. But the final reality is by far the most chilling. Every single woman, including the bride, Seema, has vanished without a trace. The men are just left standing alone in the Grand Hotel, completely terrified and bewildered. Section 3. Horrifying Night at Cremation Ground, the Doomed Search Party. Realizing they can't just stand around waiting, the men form a search party, leading to a series of fatal missteps. Step 1, they grab torches and head out into the dark, windswept forest. They actually run into a local who tells them he saw a group of 10 to 12 women walking with their heads bowed toward the Shamshan, the local cremation ground. Step 2, they reach this incredibly creepy active cremation ground and spot dozens of glowing eyes high up in a tree. Step 3, Ranjit, absolutely desperate to save his bride, bravely volunteers to climb up. But as he reaches the top, step 4 hits. He realizes those glowing eyes, they don't belong to the missing women. They belong to a pack of demonic, dark hags. They violently attack Ranjit all at once, throwing him from the tree to a gruesome death. Naturally, the search party instantly turns into a panicked retreat.
Now, this brings up a fascinating point about how people rationalize the completely irrational. After running for their lives and leaving poor Ranjit dead, a villager turns around and again blames Dama for throwing the Betal statue in the river. And Dama's response? It's astonishing. He says that statue wasn't a protector. It didn't have a gun for protection. He actually claims the villagers are just making up this whole ghost story because they want to steal his hotel. The dramatic irony here is just so thick. We know the supernatural threat is 100% real, yet Dama continues to stubbornly, almost comically, deny the reality of the situation even after his best friend was just brutally murdered.
But, as you might guess, Dama's denial doesn't last long. The horror finally reaches his own doorstep. Later that night, while he's sleeping next to his wife Samiksha, Dama wakes up screaming from a nightmare. As he looks across the room at his wardrobe mirror, the nightmare bleeds into reality. A blurred, terrifying figure appears right in the glass. He tries to scream for Samiksha to hide, but the glass violently shatters. The ghost bursts right through the mirror and abducts his wife in front of his very eyes. The protective barrier of the entire village is gone, and literally no one is safe. This takes us to Section 4, the mysterious return of women 4 days later. So, for 4 solid days, the men search the forests and villages tirelessly, but they have zero luck. Then, after all that exhausting, fruitless searching, the tension breaks in the most unsettling way imaginable. Out of total darkness, the missing women just walk back. They return completely silently. The husbands, of course, are overjoyed to have their wives and daughters back, and everyone rushes home. But the relief doesn't last. Back in their bedroom, Samiksha just sits perfectly still with her head bowed. She completely ignores all of Dama's frantic questions about where she's been. It's this incredibly unnatural, eerie silence that just screams something is deeply, deeply wrong. And right here is where our story shifts from a creepy, atmospheric ghost story to straight-up body horror. Frustrated by her silence, Dama aggressively grabs Samiksha's hand. This physical contact forces her to finally lift her head, and it reveals a terrifying sight. Her eyes are completely upside down. And before you can even begin to process this impossible mutation, Samiksha violently begins to vomit blood. It becomes horrifyingly clear that the entity hasn't just kidnapped these women, it has fundamentally, physically altered them. Which brings us to perhaps the most chilling revelation yet. Speaking through the blood, Samiksha makes a terrifying demand for meat. When Dama reminds her that she's a strict vegetarian, she simply replies, "Not me, my baby wants meat." Dama is utterly confused because he knows for a fact she isn't pregnant. This singular, horrifying line completely pivots the entire narrative. The threat is no longer external ghosts hiding out in the trees. It is now an unnatural, internal nightmare literally growing inside the women of the village. Section 5. Unveiling the demonic truth, the medical diagnosis. Desperate for some kind of logical answer, Dama rushes his supposedly non-pregnant wife to the local hospital. When he gets there and starts explaining Samiksha's bizarre behavior to the doctor, the bloody vomit, the sudden craving for raw meat for a child she doesn't have, the doctor stops him. She reveals a horrifying reality. It's not just Samiksha. Dozens of women from Vijayanagar had been admitted to the hospital that exact same day, all presenting with those exact same impossible symptoms. The scale of the horror just expanded to encompass basically the entire village's female population. An ultrasound finally reveals what is actually going on inside Samiksha, and the medical findings are, well, they're terrifying. What they see on that monitor is absolutely not a normal human fetus. It's an entity. The face has this deceptive, innocent appearance, but the eyes are described as completely empty, just totally void of humanity. The tiny hands possess sharp, jagged nails. The doctor herself coldly diagnoses it not as a child, but as a demonic entity, a tiny messenger of death. Samiksha is quite literally incubating a monster. The numbers here confirm a terrifying new reality facing Vijay Nagar. Just think about this. Of the 100% of women who went missing during that blackout, 100% of them returned 4 days later. And, horrifically, 100% of those returned women are now confirmed to be carrying these demonic entities. Every single abducted woman was used. It is a total, flawlessly executed supernatural invasion, utilizing the townspeople themselves to birth a brand new nightmare. So all of this leaves us with some absolutely burning questions. Who or what exactly is this demonic child multiplying in the wombs of the village women? Are they building some sort of dark army? And crucially, what is the true secret of that discarded Betal statue? Was it keeping these specific entities trapped, or was it a physical seal that Dama foolishly broke? That wraps up our explainer on this incredibly chilling tale. I think it brilliantly shows why you should never let modern arrogance blind you to ancient protections. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll leave you to ponder the terrifying fate of these villagers.